And next we're going to have, I don't have it in front of me, but I remember it was Jacqui Frost. And she's going to be talking about, I believe it's grants. Since I don't have the paper in front of me, I have to go off my memory. And that kind of transitions right from Diane. So welcome to Jacqui Frost.
Welcome to Grant Provision Transforming Lives. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you about the MND Association's grant programme. The provision of a grant can provide much more than funding. It can enable a person with ALS, MND or Kennedy's to retain their dignity, offer empowerment to take greater control of day-to-day living, make the outside world more accessible, or just provide some much-needed time away from the day-to-day living with MND. For people with MND, we provide financial support towards a wide variety of services and equipment, which range from property adaptations, enabling easier access around the home, to riser recliner chairs, which provide comfort and support. We also provide funding towards short breaks away, the pursuit of hobbies and activities, or other forms of respite to escape living with MND, even if just for a short time. The Association offers 4 types of grants, and the impact of these will be brought to life later in the presentation. The grants consist of our Care Grant, which funds a contribution of up to £1,500 towards the provision of equipment or a service for which there is an assessed need and where statutory services do not provide or are unable to offer provision within timescale of need. This could provide funding towards an adaptation, a washer-dryer toilet, stairlift rental, or a riser recliner armchair. As the name of our second grant suggests, our Quality of Life grants offer a contribution of up to £500 towards perhaps a holiday with family or to fund items to provide access to social media, a tablet or a phone to enable people to stay connected, which is especially important at the current time, or it could be used towards hobbies and interests. The overall limit for a person with MND is a maximum of £3,000 in each rolling 12-month period. In addition to these, we also offer grants to carers and young people and children. Our Carers Grant provides support to the main unpaid carer to enable them to take a break from their caring role and to promote well-being. A contribution of up to £500 in any rolling 12-month period can be awarded. Examples of funding requests are similar to those made through our Quality of Life grants, such as holidays, spa days, hobbies and interests. Through our commitment to supporting carers, we are greatly aware of the importance of the provision of ongoing support for people who may have lost their loved one, so this grant is available for up to 12 months post-bereavement. Our Young Persons Grants offer up to £250 in any rolling 12 months and is available to children and young people who live with or whose parent or guardian has MND. Funding requests have included driving lessons, holidays, school trips and mobile phones. This grant is also available up to 12 months post-bereavement. Our data provides invaluable insight into the ongoing needs of people with MND, and evaluation of this data is an important part of the continuous improvement of the grants programme. We constantly monitor and evaluate demand to ensure that the support we're giving continues to make the biggest impact to as many people as possible. In 2019, we were able to support 1,600 families with 2,167 grants, totaling 1.2 million. And in 2020, we are on course to achieve similar outcomes. Our total grant spend by mid-November this year stands at £991,500. This is broken down as just under £721,000 in care grants, £188,500 for our quality of life grants, just over £54,000 towards our carers and young carers grants, and just over £28,000 for our young persons grant. As you can see, the highest proportion of our grant expenditure is on our care grants. We work with health and social care professionals where statutory services are unable to fund, and this might be because they are not commissioned to provide the service or it will take too long. Following receipt of assessments and recommendations, we are able to speedily provide suitable equipment which greatly enhances a person with MND's quality of life. This may be the provision of a stairlift to enable a person with MND to access the upstairs of their property so they can share a bed with their loved one. a washer-dryer toilet to provide dignity and independence, or a ramp to give access to the outside world. All of these can build confidence, offer comfort and transform lives. We have understandably seen a change in demand during 2020 due to COVID-19, and as an association we acted quickly, implementing a wide range of initiatives and support mechanisms to enable us to offer appropriate care and support during these uncertain and worrying times. We were able to flex the programme and offer a £250 emergency grant. Take-up has been good and over 150 people have been supported with money towards food, bills and keeping connected as of mid-November. Although it's important to socially distance, it has never been more important to keep socially connected. Whilst the statistics and numbers are important, it's the impact that this support can have that is the most rewarding. The feedback that we receive is emotive and powerful and helps to demonstrate what a difference a grant can make to someone with MND. The next few slides show just a sample of the photographs and comments that we receive. For example, Nick on the bottom left was so pleased with his riser recliner chair and the comfort it gave him, he sent this lovely photo and a wonderful letter. Sadly, Nick passed away last month. One of the more unusual requests we've received was for a robotic cat, and the joy that this has brought to William is immense. Too poorly to look after a living animal, this ginger puss purrs, breathes and moves just like the real thing. And we also helped with the purchase of Jim, who is a loving companion to Mark in his last few months. There is also a picture of Luke on his new bicycle, James with his laptop, and pictures of George enjoying a holiday surrounded by his loving family. And this is Sophia, who was able to swim with dolphins and forget for a short while that her daddy has MND. She wrote to us saying, Daddy wanted to take us to Oman because he used to work there, and the association gave me a grant so I could swim with a dolphin with my mummy and daddy. Doing this special thing with my daddy was fun and I will remember it forever. We have lots of photographs and when I look at them they make me feel happy. The grant helped to cheer me and my daddy up because MND is tough for me to understand. Thank you very much for helping me. This is just a few examples of the feedback that we've received. Claire couldn't find a comfortable way to sit or sleep and was exhausted and had constant back pain on top of everything else. The chair has been an absolute godsend. It enables her to rest and to reach her walker, to go to the toilet by herself for as long as possible. I am able to be hoisted into the riser recliner chair. This means I am not stuck in bed and I am able to sit in the position which is most comfortable for me. To be sat in a chair rather than a bed gives me a feeling of normality when I have family and friends around. Many thanks for the MNDA contribution to Charlie's all-singing, all-dancing toilet. It will help a huge amount to be able to deal with personal hygiene in a less exhausting way and with less assault on his dignity. Before the wet room was installed, it was impossible to shower, and because I have no mobility, the only way was to wash in my chair. With the wet room in my bedroom, I can now shower daily, and it makes so much difference to have a proper shower every day. These are just a few examples of the messages of thanks that we've received. We have a network of branches and groups across the country run by our amazing volunteers who also provide grants for quality of life, carers and young persons, all funded through their incredible fundraising. Our branches and groups also contribute a significant amount to our national office funded grants. One of the people that our South Hertfordshire branch has supported is Diana, and this is Diana's story.
Hi there, I'm Diana. I live in Hertfordshire with my husband. We have two lovely sons who luckily live very close by in a little village. We have 3 grandchildren, alongside 25 children who we used to foster over a period of 20 years. It's rather ironic that I'm sat here in a piece of equipment after my career, which has been as an allied health professional. I was a community paediatric physio for 32 years in a special school and worked for the NHS for 42 years. I had a whale of a time at the school, loved every minute of it, and prescribed an awful lot of pieces of equipment, gave advice on benefits, helped parents to gain their benefits, and I'm in the same boat doing the same things. In 2018, I fell and broke my wrist. I think there were some balance issues around that. In January 2019, I fell on the stairs and broke ribs. We got right through the summer, and it wasn't until September that I struggled to get up a hill when we were hill walking in Scotland with my son. Then in October, I was beginning to get more pains in my legs and finding it difficult to get up off of the floor. We had a lovely Christmas, but by January things were beginning to spiral. I saw 3 GPs who all agreed that it was vertigo or labyrinthitis, and I was prescribed medication for that. We decided that we would still go on holiday as planned in February. We went away, and I had a couple of falls. By the time I got home, things had got quite bad. I was then referred to an ENT consultant at our local hospital. COVID then took over and reared its head, so we decided to go privately and see someone locally. He again agreed that it was vertigo, but also suggested that I go and see a vestibular physio to prescribe exercises and an assessment. At the end of this appointment, she said I should go and see a neurologist, which is something I had been thinking for some time before. Due to COVID and the lockdown at the end of March, I had a telephone interview with our neurologist. He then very kindly came round to see me. We looked at each other and he said, I think you know what I'm going to say. You've got MND. It was almost a relief to be told what I'd got. On 25th of March, I was 68. What a great birthday present, not. Things spiraled after that again. I had an immediate contact from my GP, who referred me to the community neurological team, and from that I had referrals for wheelchairs, equipment, and speech and language therapy. I've done voice banking, seen a dietitian, and you name it, we've been there. From there, they also suggested that I contact MNDA, and MNDA has just been a godsend. We had contact with them in the very early stages about benefits and equipment and things we could loan, and I was put in touch immediately with the local branch, South Hertfordshire, and they have been just a tower of strength. We've had Zoom meetings, talks, and I've met other people who have MND. Other than that, MND were contacted by our occupational therapist and asked if they would provide me with an award for a riser recliner chair, which has just been amazing. I couldn't do without it. The riser recliner allows me to sit up when I need to eat my meals. It stands me up from a sitting position, and I can lie back in the evenings and relax in whatever position I like. It's also got a fantastic control mechanism that I use all day long to shift my position. The chair came immediately within days of getting our award, and it has just been a boon ever since. The award came from the South Herts branch with a bit of help from the Dodie Weir Foundation. It's a lovely chair, and I just wish I could have paid for it myself. It seemed wrong just to accept it, but in recompense I decided that I would shave my head, hence my lovely hairdo at the moment. And to date, I've managed to raise £18,000 towards research into MND and hopefully to enable chairs to be provided for other sufferers. And the cat loves it too.
Thank you so much, Diana, for sharing your story, and also to the South Hertfordshire branch for your support. So what next for the future of our grants programme? Well, during 2021, we will continue to ensure that people with and people affected by MND are at the heart of what we do and that they get what they need when they need it. The MND Association, supporting people to make the most of life with MND, ALS and Kennedy's. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Jacqui, for that. There are a lot of questions about the grants themselves. I know some of them are being answered in the chat, but in case you're not following along in the chat, there are questions about um, how the grants are funded, how, and then how is the decision made to choose the people who are then going to receive the grants?
We support as many people as we can. An application is submitted by a health and social care professional for our care grants to make sure that they're suitable for the need of the person with MND. And then our other grants can be submitted by a carer, by the person with MND themselves or their family members. We have a set of criteria that we follow, but we don't means test. And there are limits for our grant applications, both per grant application and in a rolling 12-month period. And we ask for quotes, etc., to just verify spending before submitting the application through.
Excellent. And then there's also some questions around, like, should some of these things be funded through the government versus through a charity? And how do you look at that, and how do you address those as well, those questions?
Yeah, where a piece of equipment should be funded by statutory services, and that is our first port of call. But we will step in where either a statutory service doesn't provide the piece of equipment, or there's such a waiting list that it wouldn't be provided in the timescale that was needed. So that we will then step in. Quite often we make a contribution towards the cost rather than covering the full cost of a piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm. And for those of us from the United States, that makes sense as well, because for certain things, if you can justify it in is considered medical justification, then you can get that covered by your insurance or by the government. But I would guess something like that robotic kitty cat would not be covered by insurance.
No, and that's why we have such a wide range of grant provision. So our care grants are for medical or assessed needs, whereas the other grants are more to add quality of life to somebody living with MND. So something such as the Robotic Cat, which did make us all smile.
Yes. And people are again saying wonderful things about the grants. Thank you so much. Somebody was asked, Gudjin Sigurdsson from Iceland asked, do you reuse equipment then as well?
No, because we actually give a grant for the purchase of the piece of equipment, then we don't reuse it. We don't have the facilities to store and cleanse, pat test, etc. equipment. So it is a grant towards that individual piece of equipment that is then the property of the person with MND.
Yeah, so you don't want the kitty cat back.
No.
Sorry, I'm fixated on that cat. Yeah, so Amber Ward is asking about strategies for people who don't have the grants, but I'm not sure, you know, because a lot of our funding here may go for, it does sometimes go for co-pays or uncovered equipment. So I'm not sure, like, what, maybe how about, how did you get started with the grants? And that would help people who don't have them right now.
If somebody, anybody who has MND or their carer or a young person can apply for a grant to us and just go through the application process. We don't means test. We just check that the item is suitable for them and that it fits our grant criteria within the grant limits and is suitable for the person.
Okay. And then Leslie Ryan is asking, do you have many people who have accessed that program that you have for afterwards, the bereavement program?
It's not as well. We're just doing an awful lot of work with our to work with carers and young people, and we have a strategy to support people who have been bereaved. Hasn't had a high take up as yet. We've probably supported about 50 people with a post bereavement grant over the last year, 18 months.
Yeah, I think that's a new and like a unique program. maybe next year you'll present on it.
Yeah, it's a new area that we're sort of really focusing on to make sure that we offer that continuous support to the families once we constantly listen to people with MND and their families to see what extra support that we can offer. And one of the things that has come out is that carers like to feel that they're still connected to the association after they've lost their loved one. So we're working very sort of on that particular area at the moment.
And then more back to the nuts and bolts, do you have a yearly budget for your grants?
Yes, we do. Yes. Having said that, we try to support everybody, so it isn't a case of when you get to the end of the year that the grant program will stop. But we obviously check our budgets as we go along and make sure that we can offer what a proportion towards grants. We'd rather help as many people as we can, rather than give the first few the maximum grant allocation.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a responsibility to our fundraisers to spend the money wisely.
Right. Yes.
It's all raised from fundraised money.
I'm looking to see, Rachel, do you see any other questions?
No, I think they've been answered. Sally Light is doing a brilliant job working overtime answering some of the questions, and it's so good because they're putting links in and being able to answer them directly, which is brilliant as they're going along. But I think there's many comments about a very positive presentation, and thanking you for that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and thank you to Sally Light for answering those questions in the chat box. But again, just in case people are not following along, and Jacqui, you did a great job. So I think that's it then. We'll say thank you so much to you and a great presentation.
Thank you.